waits, and Johnson scores! Massaba's in the middle, Wednesday here could seal it, Casimir finds Masaba! Now Bannon with a great ball in, here's an opportunity, Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday!
I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is mid-table championship football. In all honesty, we didn't deserve anything, but we come away with a point. Another disjointed and frustrating performance. Danny visibly annoyed, and rightly so. He certainly didn't hold back in his post-match comments. Hello and welcome to Wednesday Till I Die podcast. I'm James Mappin. Alongside me this week, no, it's not Matt Johnson. I wish him all the best of luck as he's on a weekend away with the in-laws. But he's back in the co-pilot seat this week. He's been on before, a regular on the debate show. It's the man that goes by the name of Sups. How are you, mate? All good?
Hi, mate. Yeah, all good, thanks. Managed to avoid flying wheelie bins and trampolines today, which is probably the best thing that's happened to me today, to be honest. So I'll take it as a win.
Yeah, you do take that as a win, definitely. Sups, let's get. I'll fly straight into it with one of the questions. When you look at the season as a whole and where we are now, is your cup half full or is it half empty? I mean, are you looking at the positives that we're 4 games unbeaten, we've come back from behind once again, or are you disappointed, thinking it's another 2 points dropped and another poor performance?
I'm cup half full. That's even still, I think, compared to where we were 12 months ago, it's night and day on the pitch. It's night and day in terms of who we are as a squad, and what we're expecting as fans. However, that's always tempered with what might be, and I still think that the same as I'm sure the vast majority of fans, we can see how good we could be, but we're being held back because Danny Röhl's got to have backing. He's got to have serious backing. We've seen what he can do with the limited resources he's got. And to get us where we are now, I mean, if we think about some of the points we've dropped, particularly at home, you know, that's 5 or 6 extra points. That would put us 5th, you know, compared to where we are now. That those extra points, just with those little bits of luck, would put us 5th, and that's without any investment whatsoever in the playing squad. So when I say I'm half full, I think the progress is clearly there, but I'm also wary that if we do really actually want to push on, then we're going to need more.
Do you know what? I don't normally sit on the fence, but I feel like I'm both, because during the game, I'm very much frustrated, seeing it as, you know, missed opportunities and, you know, the opposition aren't good. We could definitely beat them. But then I think, I mean, obviously we're recording this kind of on the day of the game, so it's a little bit different today. But usually when I've had, you know, a night to sleep on it and I come back the next day and we record this podcast, and I think back and reflect on where we were as a football club only, you know, 12 months ago, and I think actually, yeah, we are doing a lot better than do you know what I mean, than what we were doing last year, and the signs of improvement are there. But as a football fan, you can't help but kind of do all the ifs, buts, and maybes, and you've already done those. You know, saying that, you know, with a few extra points here and there, we could have been in it. And I was talking to Steve earlier, and I was just saying, you know, take the Sunderland game, the Leeds game, the Millwall game out of the equation, where we were well and truly beaten. Even in the 6-2 defeat to Watford, you know, at half time there was only one team that was winning it, and we've been in all the other games. This, you know, you could actually say that on a different day we could have perhaps got more points than we did out of some of them. Do you know what I mean? You know, I know we didn't have a shot against them down the road, but we weren't hammered, we weren't beaten. You know, we were well in the game, and we could have nicked it. So, yeah, I think when you look at it like that, we're more than holding his own in this league, and And yeah, I think really, if I had to give one answer, I'd probably saying, yeah, I am cup half full, and I'm seeing the positives from it all. Before we get on to the game against Preston, I just want to say congratulations to Paul Gregory, aka Tango. He's been campaigning and trying to raise money to get a defibrillator in every stand at every football club, following the passing of his daughter just over a year ago. You may have heard him, or may have heard Matt, speak about this on last week's show. Well, they've now received enough to fund 4 defibrillators at Hillsborough, which is absolutely amazing work, incredible stuff. Obviously, it doesn't stop there. They are wanting to continue raising money and supply one in each stand in clubs up and down the country. Checking the show notes, there will be a link to where you can donate and stuff, which I find absolutely baffling, really, to be fair, that there isn't a defibrillator in every stand anyway, really. You know, I mean, it should just be a prerequisite, shouldn't it, really, of a football ground with that many people.
It's crackers. I mean, if you think about the amount of cash that flies around football, I mean, I'm not talking necessarily the Premier League, but you know, you can go online and you can see the cost of a defibrillator. It's, you know, it's nothing when you consider what those machines can do. And
when you look at how much money the players are being paid and things like that, it's not exactly a great deal.
That's right. And you know, very quickly, 30,000 in a stadium. You know, to have 4 of those, it's not a big ask, but fantastic stuff from Tango. Well done.
Yeah, exactly. Another one as well, you might have seen in the news earlier today, especially on social media, Michael Antonio, heart and all my thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family. It looks like West Ham have posted another update saying that he's in a stable condition following a road traffic accident this afternoon in the Essex area. He's conscious and communicating, currently under close supervision at a central London hospital. Yes, like I said, I've seen what I believe to be the car that he was travelling in at the time, and yeah, like if he is stable and he's okay, it's an absolute miracle. And like I said, all the thoughts go out to him. Antonio was such a great player, wasn't he? I mean, still is, of course. You know, the things that he did at Hillsborough. I always go back to Wickham. In that, you know, when we beat them in the final day to get promotion, and that goal wasn't a great goal by any stretch, but still such a goal that just sticks in my memory.
He burst through, and it was never in doubt, was it? Because he was the man that season. You know, we all wanted him on a permanent. We got him on a permanent. I think some of us are still wondering how the hell we ever let him go for such a cheap price. One of all our favourite ex-Owls, because he's one of them that once an owl, always an owl. He often tweets the emoji if we have a good result. Seems like a brilliant bloke as well as a great player. All the best to him.
Do you know one thing? He certainly bulked up a little bit when he went to West Ham.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was quite slight, tricky winger, turned into this stacked centre forward. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, we wish him well. Hope he's all okay. Let's get onto the match then. Sups, what went wrong today, in your opinion?
I think there were 2 things, and none of these will be a surprise. That the first thing is Bannon and the team selection. We couldn't really do much about Bannon. He was suspended, so you know we've got to take that on the chin. But the team selection, we'll talk about that in a minute. I don't think that helped us at all. However, the immediate the immediate observation was that we were not as competitive as we should have been in a home match from the first whistle today. It handed the initiative to Preston. The first 10 minutes was poor. It just got worse with the goal. We never really managed to get a foothold in that first half. And even after 20 minutes, I made a mental note that this is not working. As soon as that, after 20 minutes, it was clear it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, I think Preston came and just did a job on us, to be fair. They got that goal, which I think they probably just looked at how Derby scored and thought, well, we'll just try doing exactly the same, and it worked. But yeah, they did a job on us. They made it very difficult for us to break them down. And there were times, as you mentioned, that first 15, 20 minutes, where if you had just been plonked on this earth and didn't know, which team was which, you'd have probably thought that Preston were the home side, in which, the way that they were kind of, I want to say dominating, but the way that it looked relatively easy, and we were finding it hard to even get out. I mean, you had Josh Windass playing in what I thought was in the number 10 role, but as far as I'm concerned, number 10 is not at right back, because he found himself out there numerous times. At one point, he was playing centre half, and I'm like thinking, what are we doing here? Like, we're supposed to be the side at home. We're supposed to be, playing this front foot football, and we're getting penned back and finding it really hard and struggling. It was. I mean, there's quite a few things that have gone wrong. I did tweet this out, so I'm going to read a few out. Ben said Danny's tactics for the most part. Jason said we got the selection wrong. Gassama out of position. Palmer shouldn't be starting in midfield. Ingleson showed why. Valerie was away with the fairies, and Johnson, what the actual fuck, played like he'd signed a pre-contract for Preston in January. Adam said lack of movement and clear thinking in the final third. Also no urgency. Harry said starting 4 fullbacks. Yeah, we're going to get onto the starting lineup in a second. Wrong starting 11 today. Midfield and choice of penalty taker. Yeah, I agree on that one. Baffling stuff. Samuel said Palmer was non-existent in that midfield and had no options to beat the press. Let's talk about that starting 11 subs. It was Beadle, Valerie, Palmer, Bernard, Maxlow, Johnson, Gassama, Shea Charles, Windass, Ugbo and Smith. So it was Iofa, Bannon, Valentin and Masaba that made way. Bernard, Palmer, Windass and Ugbo that came in. I think, like as a few people said, I thought he got it wrong today with that starting lineup. I was looking at it and I was trying to think who's playing where. Like I didn't really understand it at first, because I was thinking if Palmer's playing in defence, then who's kind of playing out? Who's partnering Shea Charles in the middle? If he's playing in centre half, then if he's playing it in the middle, like who's playing it at the back? I was a bit a little bit baffled. Obviously, Palmer did play in the middle, and I'd really wish he'd not. No slight on Palmer. I just think the game's probably caught up with him a little bit, and it wasn't very effective, especially when you're playing kind of two holding midfielders. It didn't need that really.
It didn't. I mean, I'm normally okay with a relatively aggressive attacking lineup. However, considering, I mean, we've taken some beltings when we've fielded aggressive lineups before. You think about Ipswich, Sunderland, Southampton. But pre-game, you see the lineup and you see all this attacking threat, and we end up shipping goals all over the shop. So, with that in mind, my honest first reaction was Shea Charles is exposed here, because I was fully expecting Chalabar or Ingleson to come in. Palmer, fantastic servant. However, if you want pace, then he's not your man. If you're going to get caught in possession in midfield, he's not your man. And I just thought that if we are going to field an attacking aggressive selection, that's only any good if you can consistently get the ball to those attackers. And we can't do it when we've got Barry Bannon on a consistent basis. So if Baz is not on the field, how the hell are we going to get the ball to them? And as you've quite rightly said, fair play to Preston, because we were second best today. They should have won. We robbed a point off them, is my summary. But what they did was they played like the home team. They were aggressive. They were in our face right from the start. Didn't give us any time on the ball, and we couldn't cope with it.
Yeah, so the gap between midfield and those attacking players, as you said, the Windass, the Ugbo, the Smith, Gassama, the gap at times was huge, and the ball came up to him, it just came straight back. Smith were trying his damn hardest to hold the ball up. I know the conditions probably didn't help. The ball's swirling around, and the fact that Michael Smith doesn't win a foul ever in the eyes of the referee, again, it doesn't help either. Getting manhandled to the ground and then somehow it's a foul to the opposition. I've no idea how that happens, but it is what it is, and we just have to deal with it. And he found it tough out there. But again, when he did manage to hold the ball up, there was nobody to pass to. There was nobody there. As I mentioned, Windass, I think he was playing in some sort of floating role because he was here, there, and everywhere, trying to do something, I guess. And yeah, it just really, I think they just found it really tough and didn't really do themselves any favours in, like I said, certainly in that opening 15, 20 minutes.
No, they look like a side who didn't know where each other was going to be. And I can't blame them, because it was at times impossible to figure out what formation we were playing. I mean, some of it was actual 4-2-4. Some of it were then rotated back into a 3 with, low moving to the left of a back 3, and, Johnson then pushing up, and, Palmer just kind of roaming around no man's land. It did not really work. It didn't work at all. I think when you talk about Smith, what Preston were really good at, which we did not match, is when the ball came to us with our backs to goal, there was always a Preston player right up against us. So there was nowhere for us to turn and pass the ball. Preston were completely different. They received the ball, they had time to turn, and they were bopping it about quite nicely. But they had that extra half a second, half a yard to do that. They never gave us the opportunity to do it, and it shut us down. Gassama wins Smith's share of fouls because he was ragged all over the place again and never got a whistle. But it did not do us any favours. The fact that we were struggling right from the start, and I think most of that comes down to not skill, not quality. It was attitude and commitment today, and that is we can't see that at home.
Yeah, Danny's highlighted that as well. We're going to speak about his comments in a second. I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but I might as well bring it up now because Slice said Johnson not running for the ball that went out for a throw-in. What the fuck was that about? I mean, I'm on the north stand. It's kind of directly opposite me. He's running towards the south. For those who haven't seen it, the ball, obviously it's a greasy surface. The wind's howling around. The ball, it's a poor pass from, I think it's Palmer that makes the pass for out towards him. But he can get there easily. But he just kind of jogs and then just stops running, throws his hands up in the air, right in front of Danny as well. And Danny went absolutely apoplectic at him, and rightly so, because that's not what you want. You can be visibly frustrated. You can be annoyed at your teammates for the pass. But Christ almighty, just run for the ball. Like, you don't... The ball's gone out for a throw-in in our half. Like, you just gifted them possession, by just not trying, and that kind of set the tone, I feel, from that point onwards. And like I said, Danny went absolutely mental, and yeah, I would have done exactly the same as well.
I've not seen that before. I've not seen a player kind of quit on his responsibilities that blatantly, really. I mean, it was almost like Johnson thought it was going out for our throw. The fact that he just gave it up, and that's what I was expecting, because I thought, I must have taken a nick or something that I haven't seen, or I've missed something here. But no, he just gave up. And yeah, I mean, they showed it on the replay. Danny Röhl was, he was almost speechless. What the hell are you doing? And
that's the one thing that you want. Is one thing you want is commitment to the cause, and you want everyone pulling in the right way. And when it's tough and when it's hard and when things aren't going your way, the one thing you need is just everyone to try. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of a bare minimum that any fan, manager, whatever you want to say, a teammate is That's all you want from everyone as a bare minimum. And doing that, I mean, Johnson has come under criticism in the past. He's been left out of squads by certain managers as well. I think what saves him is he's got a fantastic left foot, and he's constantly putting crosses in, and some of the balls he puts in are magnificent. That does save him a hell of a lot of times. But his attitude has come under fire, and he's been great this season, but he just didn't want it today. I just did not want it one bit.
In general, I agree. In general, the team were off it as a unit. I mean, I think I've spoke to you about it before, James. I was stood with Peter away at Millwall earlier in the season, and neither of us will forget it for the wrong reasons altogether. It was a terrible game. It was awful quality. It was a terrible result. We were pushed off the ball, bullied, didn't fancy it. Now that can happen away as a one-off, right? Sometimes that can happen. That absolutely cannot happen at home. That you cannot do that. At Hillsborough, miserable weather, early kickoff. There's no excuse for that first half. We were second to every ball. We were jumping or half jumping out of tackles. We weren't putting in the same kind of snap that Preston were putting into their challenges. It wouldn't surprise me. Well, it did surprise me that Johnson came out for the second half, actually. But it would not surprise me if Danny Röhl at half time went fucking nuts with them and lost the plot, because like you said, the price of entry is commitment and effort. And when we'll go on to talk about it later, his comments, but that's your foundation. Nothing happens without that. And I think that's the point he's making.
But again, it was another poor first half. You just alluded to that, and it was poor against Derby, last week. It was poor again today. There's been other instances this season already where we just don't seem to come out of the blocks, and we struggle. We tend to kind of turn up about halfway, half an hour into the game, and we kind of finish the half with a bit of a flourish, and quite often, we don't want the half-time whistle to come. But again, we started really sluggish, and it was just a really poor start. I mean, a lot of people have criticised the atmosphere, and whilst I agree, it was like a morgue. Again, weather doesn't help and everything else, but like I've said numerous times, as a fan base, you react to what you see on the pitch. In the second half, it got up a bit. The atmosphere was a little bit better. I think people, trying to will the ball into the goal and get that winner. But when nothing's happening and the opposition, and let's be right, like it's Preston as well. No disrespect to Preston, we're not talking about like you mentioned, like Southampton or a Leeds or anything like that. A team that's you're going to have to show a little bit of respect to. It's Preston, and we're on awful form, and they were zipping it around in triangles. We're making them look like Brazil at times in that first half. We just totally weren't at the races at all.
No, and I thought that when I had second thoughts about the lineup, and I did think that Charles might have his work cut out because he had no real support there. But in the back of my mind, I did think what Alex Ferguson used to say, lads, it's Preston. Just go. Yeah. They haven't won in 9 games. Go out. You're at home. Get into them. Show them what you're made of. Let's play the way we can play, and we'll beat these. But it looked like too many of them today thought this is 3 points. We can do this. We've got the quality in our squad. But it never got going. And one of the things that you mentioned there about getting the crowd going is right. But where is the tone setter for us? Where is the full-blooded tackle? I mean, it's not quite the beautiful game, but everyone loves seeing a home player clatter into someone early doors. Stick them over the hoardings and get the crowd going. We'll almost applaud that as much as a bullet header. But there was no one doing that. Preston were were well drilled, got a good game plan, knew they had to be on it right from the off. They were, but there's no reason why we couldn't see that, match it, set the tone. I mean, I don't know. Look, he's not the answer to everything. I know that, and people love him, and you know what's coming. But
I know exactly what's coming. Did it start with his C and his ending at N?
Well, why is he not on the bench? I don't know. If he's not on the bench for football reasons, that's criminal. If he's not on the bench for personal or injury reasons, I understand. But if he's not on the bench, selected in the matchday squad today, after what he did on Sunday, that is not good.
Yeah, and also as well, in all due respect, like the conditions suit him absolutely down to the ground. There's going to be people out there that, well, clearly with some of our players that weren't up for it. There's going to be others, potentially some of the Preston players might not have been pre-game. You might have thought that, they're away from home. It's horrible, windy, rainy conditions. That's the game that you want. That's it.
Pato's from Scotland, for fuck's sake. I mean, he's never seen the sunshine. Just get him on. He'll be loving it. But I thought that was a bit weird. Even if some of it said tongue in cheek, but 15 minutes to go, half an hour to go, or even second half, when clearly this is not working. We're getting overrun, we're getting out muscled. Well, okay, meet Callum Patterson, Preston. See how you fancy it now.
Yeah. There's a player that was missing, of course, Barry Bannon. Everyone was thinking beforehand, who's going to replace him? What we're going to do without him? I think it's someone said 50 odd games consecutively that he'd appeared in. I think the only one of us that he didn't start in. How much did we miss Barry Bannon today?
Yeah, I mean, if that was a glimpse of the future without Baz, then what I said at the top of the podcast about investment and all the rest of it is absolutely of paramount importance in the next 18 months, 12 to 18 months, because he gives everybody time. He relieves pressure. He finds space where there is none. He can find a pass. I mean, I'm obviously preaching to the choir here. I'm not telling anybody anything groundbreaking, but when you compare it to what we saw today, which was slow. Sly said again in the comments, he said, the atmosphere was flat because we can't sustain pressure for any length of time, and tempo was slow, no movement. Baz demands that. He gets the ball, he's looking, he's, whatever the new term is, scanning. He's always looking for space. He can knock it around, so he'll give it, but he'll get it back the next pass, but he's already created himself an extra second of space, little triangles. Him and Charles have got a great understanding. But all that said, I think that Chalabar or Ingleson would have had much more of an impact playing alongside Charles than what we saw today. It was a bit baffling, even though we as fans are on board 99% with what Danny Röhl's doing. I think that was a bit baffling today.
Yeah, I feel like with Bannon, it's just the creativity that I think we were lacking throughout the game, really. I think Windass missed his mate as well. They've got a great understanding between the two of them. How many times does Bannon slip a ball in for Windass when he makes those runs? It was just we didn't really have any creativity at all. And playing someone that's defensive in the likes of Palmer, it meant that we had two players doing the same thing really, and we just struggled somewhat. I think also, whilst I don't think Bannon is a great leader, I feel like he certainly does organise people, because there were times in that first half where we looked looked lost a little bit. Didn't really know what to do, and I think like I said, he could do a little bit of organising that we missed. But thankfully it's only a 1 match suspension. We're not talking about a 6-month injury or anything like that. He's back for Tuesday, and yeah, we'll see on Tuesday as to the difference that we have with a Bannon in the side. But you're right, what you said earlier. We need to start planning for the future without him, because it comes as no shock, but he can't last forever. There will be a time where he is not pulling on a blue and white Wednesday shirt.
And we're just not going to get a Barry Bannon on a free. That's not going to happen. That's those days are pretty much gone. With data and whatever resources they have now, scouting online and all the rest of it. People are seeing players like Bannon and they're scooping them up. I mean, the big clubs are stockpiling them, 50, 60 players, and then loaning them out. We're well down the pecking order. We're gonna have to pay. We're gonna have to have investment. That's a whole different conversation. What I know that you've got strong views about Bannon's kind of style of leadership sometimes.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I think the last couple of seasons he's shown a little bit more of a varied approach depending on who he's interacting with. So if it's an experienced teammate, he'll probably give him a bollock. If it's a younger teammate, he'll slap him a high five or pat him on the back or whatever. I feel like you're correct today. There was no clapping of hands, encouraging, come on, lift yourselves, all that kind of stuff that you see from Bannon. And it might not be straight out the captain's handbook, but you can certainly see him encouraging, clapping his hands, moving people around, game in, game out. Nobody was really stepping up to do that today.
Yeah, I feel like it was just a bunch of individuals out there. But as Sham says, let's just forget about today. Don't want to talk about it. So that's the end of the podcast, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks, Sham. All the best. I get it. I get it. I mean, sometimes you just got to take your medicine and move on to Blackburn at home on Tuesday.
And we've come away with a point when it didn't look likely. I felt like if it had gone to 2, there would have been no way of coming back. It did feel very much like Derby last week, though, in that we weren't playing very well. We managed to get back on level terms, and then I was thinking, are we going to do it? Is Lightning going to strike twice in a week? Are we going to get that last minute winner? But the reason why we were still in it, Sups, was that man in goal. James Beadle, once again, I know I've criticised him for the lack of saves that he's made, but you cannot deny that for the last 3 games, Hull, Derby, and once again today, he has made some top quality saves, which has ultimately kept us in the game, and is why we're sat here whinging about a point, because we'd have been even more livid about a defeat.
Yeah, I have had minimal criticism of James Beadle, if any, ever since he's joined, really. I mean, I know he's had some off days, but with a keeper, if the good far outweighs the bad, a keeper's literally last line of defence. If it's a goal, it's got to get past them. So there's going to be errors. He's a young keeper. I feel like we don't have to make that excuse for him anymore, because week in, week out, he makes point blank saves. I'm not talking, he's got a second to watch it flying through the air and he tips it round the post. I mean, the attacker's 4 yards from goal and he's making point blank saves. I think today we should have been generously 3-0 down. Could have been 4-0 at half time if it wasn't for Beadle. The only reason we were in that game at half time is, as you say, Beadle. And I think what he's doing for us is great. All the knee sliding and everything when we're winning, that's fantastic. It looks like, clearly, because he's been playing, he's got more of a connection to this club than his parent club, because he's been playing. week in, week out. The
Yeah.
fans get behind him. I mean, we need a better song because that one's shit. But yeah, but you know, what else can you do with Beadle apart from just Beadle? That's all you can do, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic again. I'm made up for the lad. I think he deserves plaudits more than he gets.
I think there was one in the first half, and there was one in the second, and then there was another one that wasn't even a save. But how the lads missed, I have absolutely no idea. But
well, Beadle's nearly dived on him.
Yeah, he has. But he's come out, he's spread himself, he's made himself wide, and he's put him off, hasn't he? And he's he's spooned it wide, and thankfully he did, because again that'd have been I can't remember. Was it, I think the game was it 1-0 at that point? It might have been 1-1. But anyway, still he's done what he needs to do, and. Yeah, like I said, we are conceding a few goals, but I think there's not been many where you've perhaps said he's at fault. He's certainly, I know that he made a few mistakes, didn't he, last season? Leicester, he's one of them. I think it was Norwich, another one where he kind of passed it into trouble. He's not done. He hasn't done that, touch wood, so far this season. So that's improved. He's getting better at that. There was a time where I think Valerie had the ball on the right. Nobody was showing for him whatsoever. Gassama had just forgot what his role was, and he'd drifted away. Beadle saw that, and he's come over to cover, and the ball came to him, and quite a lot of knowledgeable fans in the ground clapped that one and applauded it, and realised what he'd done there, and seen the danger and done something about it. But no, once again, the reason why we're still unbeaten, I think you have to say it is down to James Beadle, and one of the very few positives that you could perhaps take from this game is that it gives the defence that positivity, and that knowing that you've got a goalkeeper that's going to help you out, and I don't want to throw shade on him at all, but when we had the likes of Cameron Dawson in goal, I don't think the defence could say that as much, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think Beadle's gaining confidence since he's been given the license to punt it if in danger. It looked at one stage like he was in two minds whether to play the pass, whether to give it to Famewa or pass it out to Valentin or whatever. And in the end, he ended up second guessing himself, passing it into traffic, and we conceded a couple of daft goals. I think since Danny's kind of changed his principles or relaxed his principles a little bit to that end, then it's definitely benefited Beadle, because when you think he should launch it, he does now. And there's no groans from the crowd. There's no why you're doing that. I mean, half the crowd want him to launch it 100 times out of 100 anyway. We know that. But the new way, mixing it up, you've got to mix it up. We watch teams that aren't Wednesday committing football suicide every week, trying to play out from the back when they're getting shut down. So, just let's be a bit pragmatic about it. It's worked for Beadle. There was one, I don't know if it was it the Derby game where he made a cracking save, and just what we were talking about, Bannon ran over to him and it was slapping his back and high-fiving him, ruffling his hair. I don't think he could reach his hair. He was kind of on a step ladder trying to reach. He was probably
ruffling his hair thinking, oh, what if? This is what it feels like.
Yeah, that's right.
But I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. For
Beadle to get that, he seems like quite a reserved person, off the pitch, quite a shy kind of personality, which is fine. But when you got your captain like that saying, fantastic, well done, that's good to see.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Something happened in the second half, which doesn't normally happen. We got a penalty. It feels like it happens every other game now since we got the one against Hull. We had another one, first one at home for a very, very long time. We've got Michael Smith on the pitch. We've also got Josh Windass. Josh Windass picks the ball up, puts it down, and then goes to miss the penalty. Now, I'm not going to lie. He puts the ball... First of all, I'm thinking, when we get the penalty, where's Smith? Oh, he's there. Right, that's it. Smith put it down. When I see Windass pick the ball up, I was a bit like, all right, fair enough. He scored the previous one that we got against Hull. And then he proceeded to get into a bit of a slagging match with the keeper. Now, I obviously don't know what's been said, but you could see him visibly. The keeper does exactly what he normally does and walks up, tries to delay tactics and everything else. And rather than just kind of keeping your mouth shut, he started saying something to him. Now, like I said, I don't know what he said to him. At that point, I just thought, he's going to miss it. I don't know why. I just thought, he shouldn't have engaged in it. He should have just kept his head down. Do you know what I like? I don't know who it was that did it. It wasn't us, because obviously we never get penalties. But a player picks the ball up and goes as if he's taking the penalty. He gets all the sledging. He gets all the
protects the taker,
and then he just passes it to someone else, and they put the ball down. The keeper's already read it, and all the time wasting's all gone, and they've just out in the and they pick the ball up, put it down, and away they go. And I thought maybe that should have happened with Smith, but why didn't Smith take the penalty, Sups?
I have absolutely no idea. This was a huge mistake. I'm not saying this as an after timer, because Windass missed, and Smith is our penalty taker. Smith doesn't miss penalties. All right, he's going to miss eventually. Law of averages. He's going to miss, but he. I don't know. Is it possessions 9/10 of the law or whatever? Windass took the last one and scored, so he feels it. Did his kind of his personality and seniority take over? Were they the instructions from management? I mean, the mad thing about football, and we see it all the time, is how kind of intricately it's managed in certain areas about how far you're running and how many passes you're making and what you do with the ball in transition and your XG and all the rest of it. And then because this is now a multi-million-pound business, and a goal can make the difference of ultimately millions and millions of pounds and all the rest of it, and people see it as a business. Yet not just us, but teams like Chelsea then have two players fighting on the pitch over who's going to take the penalty. Surely that is the simplest instruction from a manager before he goes out there. Now, if that instruction was from Danny Röhl that it's going to be Windass, there's your issue. That's a mistake because Smith's on the pitch. It's a shocking penalty. It's if you're going to say it's a bad penalty, tell me how you would take a bad penalty. You'd say, just don't hit it very hard, keep it low, but kind of keep a height, try and float it, don't put it anywhere near the corner. And that's really what you got with Windass. The other thing about that penalty is, here's one of my pet hates. It's the road runner, little running on the spot before you take the penalty. There's no need. And I think probably that might play into why Smith is successful from the penalty spot, because he's a Brexit penalty taker. He just runs up and hits it, bang, no problem.
I mean, it's easy to say this after the event, and it's upset. If he does it, it's always funny in it when the keeper goes the wrong way and that penalty goes in. You think, oh, what a fantastic penalty! Cool, calm, collected, sent the keeper the wrong way and all that. But when the keeper dives the right way, it makes you look like a right plonker, doesn't it? Really, but whereas there is some penalties that you think keeper could dive right way, he ain't saving those. Harry Kane is the obviously prime example of that. So he hits them, and he could tell you which way he's going to go. And I still don't think you probably you get there with some of those. But that's why he's Harry Kane, and everyone else is whoever they are as well.
And the Windass penalties we've seen in shootouts have been net bulgers. He's hit the side netting, or he's hit it high into a corner. Really great execution, but that was a bad penalty miss. I don't know why on earth Smith didn't get the ball.
The only thing I can think is the rule must be if you score your last one, you take the next. That I can only imagine that. Obviously, the reason why Smith didn't take the last one is he wasn't on the pitch. Windass picked it up, put it down, and dispatched it. So therefore, if he's on the pitch next time, he gets the next one. That's the only thing I can think of. 'Cause I'm looking now. Obviously, all these penalties that Smith's taken were all pre-Danny Röhl, because the one against Hull was the first one that we'd got under him. He's taken, I think, 7 penalties, 8 if you want to include the one against Peterborough in the playoffs. He scored all of them. He hasn't missed a penalty in a blue and white shirt. It was against Bradford in the EFL Trophy. Burton, Port Vale, Cambridge, MK Dons, Burton again, away from home, Derby, obviously the last day of the season, and then that Peterborough one. So he's had a couple of shootouts as well, hasn't he? Just like Windass has. Yeah, Peterborough shootout, Brentford shootout. So I mean, they don't necessarily count for his stats, but the last time he missed was April 2nd, 2021. Like I said, he's took 7 penalties after that, all for us, and not missed any of them. But at that point, I kind of thought, this is it. It's not going to be our day. This one, we're 1-0 down. We get a penalty. We can't put it away. At the time, I thought, this is perhaps going to be, when we got the penalty, is this going to kick us on? Them games that we aren't playing well in, is it going to give us that lift? But yeah, alas, we missed that penalty.
Yeah, I can't dig Windass out too much for missing a penalty. Everyone eventually misses, but it was a lovely little run by Valentin getting goal side, and I mean, once he got goal side, I know we don't get him, but I was thinking penalty because the defender had no choice. Valentin was away. When you're trying that kind of tackle from behind like that, I mean, that was a stonewaller.
You can see why everyone loves Valentin, though, can't you? Because he just gets the ball and he only has one thought on his mind, and that's just to get past his man and get to that byline and kind of cut in, really. When he came on, I think he tried to do that 2 or 3 times. Obviously, he got brought down for the penalty, but always looking to do that. And I think it's a difficult one with Valentin. I thought he struggled a little bit against Derby. Sorry, I'm not supposed to criticise Valentin, am I? Best right back that we've ever had. But no, I think he struggled against Derby. But as an impact sub, when he comes off the bench, he's when you can see how the game's panning out, and Danny can say to him, right, I want you to do this, because we can really exploit something here. I think he really, really shines, and yeah, like I thought he did really well since he came on. And
that left back, well, I don't know if he was left back or if he was in the left back position. That Kessler Hayden, he was having a good game. But he got rinsed by Valentin then. You don't want Paul running at you when you're knackered after an hour. That's the last thing you want.
Just a brief observation: the scoreboard guy clearly didn't know what a hyphen or the difference between a hyphen and an underscore, because he was he had an underscore in the middle of his name. But anyway, just add that to the list of all the shit things that the scoreboard guy does on a regular basis.
Well, sometimes we're 2-0 up and he just puts up 0-0 for a laugh. So you think, did I dream them 2 goals, or is it actually 2-0? Because the scoreboard says 0-0.
I'm glad that they've sacked off the instant replays anyway, or the fan cam or whatever it was that they used to have, goal reaction cam, because that was absolutely comical. I remember a time where they showed it. And it must have been before the goal, because nothing happened. It was zoomed in on about 15, 20 fans in obviously expecting them to all jump up and start cheering, and nothing happened. I was like, what?
Yeah. We're not Americans, mate. Leave your t-shirt cannons and everything at the NBA. It's not
Sups, the moment that Kiss Cam comes on, I think, we could definitively say that the game's well and truly gone.
Well and truly gone. Yeah. It's time to hit the concourse then for a non-existent pie and pints that have run out.
Yeah, exactly. Right, let's get onto these comments that Danny Röhl made, because if you're listening and you haven't seen them, head over to Radio Sheffield's Twitter page, or Football Heaven, I think it's called, and have a watch of it, because I've not seen him like that at all. It was a little bit like that after. Was it the Derby game as well? Even though he'd won late on, I think he made a few comments. Obviously, wasn't happy about the first half. I've picked a few bits out from what he said. Like I said, go and listen to it if you haven't. The first thing he says, for me, it's a defeat. We're not a team that can dominate the opposition. I said to you at the top, are you glass half full or half empty? I know I asked you that on kind of based on the whole season as a whole so far. Clearly, he's seeing that. I saw it as a point gained, really. So it didn't deserve anything, but clearly Danny was annoyed at how they performed.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the game, that is, I mean, we have stolen a point, because we should have lost by 2 or 3 today. I mean, I thought Preston were much better than we were. They definitely should have had one, at least 2 more goals. So when you look at the game, that was a point gain. But if you're looking at the match, if you're looking at the game prior to kickoff, then you're saying we've got to put these away. You know.
Do you like it that Danny's come out and spoken the way that he has? Because he didn't hold back, did he? I mean, look, he didn't dig anyone out specifically. He did do it like collectively, but he's come out, and quite a lot of times some managers can just skirt around the issue and sit and kind of defend the players and everything else. But he said he was annoyed, he was disappointed. He like saying it wasn't good enough. Are you happy with him coming out and saying stuff like that and being kind of brutally honest?
I think I'm 100% behind what he said. I think how he said it and what he said were both absolutely bang on. We all as fans know what we've seen today. We're not idiots. You know, we don't come away thinking, that we got a point in a hard fought game there against plucky Preston. Move on to the next one. We know that what we saw in the first half, especially, is not acceptable for a home performance. And when he is setting the standards as highly as he is, clearly he's doing that every day in training. He seems quite, an intense coach in terms of what he's asking for, how he's asking for it, and how often he's asking for it. Then what he said was right on the money. And the difference is, I mean, this isn't it refreshing for a manager in our kind of region to be talking about what he can control, rather than a couple of the other management clowns in our area whinging about managers and speaking out of pocket about opposition players like it's anything to do with them. We've got a manager he's a class act. He's a very astute coach. He knows what he's doing. He wants to control what he can control. He can't control what the officials do, and he can't control what the opposition players do. He is in control of our squad, the way we play, and what he saw today didn't match up to his standards. He said it, and I think that should shock a few players into not turning in performances like that again.
Yeah, I think you bang right when you said about standards there. Clearly in training, they must be doing it, because if not, if they're not doing it in training, then how is he going to expect it when it comes to actually playing in a game? So clearly they're doing it there, and they're just not applying that in that game setting for whatever reason. I mean, he went on to say as well, it don't matter home or away, but when I see our attitude and mindset today, that was 2 less from a lot of our players. I'm not happy today and the players know this. So clearly he gave them both barrels, whether that were half-time or full-time or both. I presume probably both, because there were times where he was absolutely fuming on that touchline. Again, I'm sat at the opposite side, but you can see him really, quite active and really showing his emotions and everything else. You can't say that it doesn't kind of show his passion and everything else. And I think for me, he talks, especially in the press conferences when he's talking to the likes of Rob and Alex. They ask you questions about, I think what he got asked a question, is he kind of a workaholic? Because he just said, I put in what I feel is the time necessary to do the job, and he's quite often there till late at night. You see that, with his analysis. He's watching. I'm guessing he's watching every video under the sun about his opposition that are coming up. I mean, in the interview, he just reeled off the next probably 6 or 7 games that we've got. I'm sure if you pressed him, I'm sure if you pressed him, he could probably tell you all the fixtures until the end of the season. He's that well drilled, and I suppose it just must, for him, it just must be so frustrating when you see the players not applying that in a game, and as we've touched on before, like not looking arsed. He's putting in all the effort that he's putting in, and they can't do it on the pitch. And I feel like some of those frustrations are starting to come out a little bit, which, January transfer window is not far away. I know we could be limited in terms of how much money that we might have to spend, but some of these players have got to be careful, because if they're not careful and they're not applying themselves in the way that he wants, they could quite easily be shipped out alone, sold or whatever. And I'm sure he's got an extensive list of players that he's got an eye on, that he might be trying to target in January. And we could see a very different Sheffield Wednesday side to the one that we're seeing at the moment. Because I see him as, he could be quite ruthless in that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I believe that some of his frustration might stem from what he sees as the opportunity that we're currently not taking. In other words, this isn't a championship with 6 absolutely world-class sides in it. There's a couple of decent teams in it. I mean, them down the road are, I think they're trending higher than what they actually are at the minute.
There's no will beaters, is he, Subs? In this league, there's no team that's going to go out there and just steamroll everyone.
There isn't, and we reeled off before we came on the show. Blackburn, Norwich, Bristol City, even West Brom. You wouldn't put your house on us not finishing above any of those sides, because we've seen them all, and then they're no great shakes, and we've beat a couple of them already. Yeah. So, as I said, a couple of wins. Once you get into this kind of business end of the table, and once you get there in February, March, 10th and 6th are, a couple of referees' whistles difference. That's it. And if you're in with a shout, right, okay, managing expectations here, all right, for all of our friends and all of our colleagues, managing expectations here. That's not what I'm expecting. I'm not. However, I think I'm illustrating this because of the frustration Danny Röhl can see in how close we're getting to getting results when we're not doing what he's asking. And if we did do what he was asking on a consistent basis, where could we be? And I feel like he shares the frustration that we do as fans, that this championship is not full of quality. There's an opportunity for teams to finish high with a good run, putting together a string of results. We can't seem to put together a string of wins. I mean, we're unbeaten in the last few games now, but we can't put together a string of wins. If we could, our home form needs to turn. We need to convert these draws into wins.
Yeah, I mean, when you said about the championship's not great this season, I think the fact that we drew and shot up 3 places kind of illustrates that, which is mad. Sat currently 9th in the table, 5 points off of the playoffs, and how many points off the bottom 3? 9 points off the bottom 3 now. So we're. I'm not going to tweet a picture of the league table. I did that last week, and I think I upset some of the people down the road. So I'll refrain from doing that, as tempting as it may be. But yeah.
Is that when you cropped them out altogether?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and do you know what? As well, full disclaimer, I screenshotted it. I had it on my laptop, and I screenshotted it, and it didn't fit on my screen. I didn't realise at the time. I just screenshotted it, and then obviously when I realised that I'd not got those at the top, I thought, "Fuck it, I'm just going to leave it for a laugh." And obviously made no reference to him whatsoever. So I didn't actually. My thought wasn't, I'm going to do a screenshot and crop them out. It happened accidentally, and I thought, "No, what? That'd be quite funny." That.
Did you see you got a shout out from one of the big championship accounts that said, quoted your tweet and said, this is top tier shithousing or something. So you got some love coming your way for that one.
I didn't. Yeah. I didn't, but I did see that it had been seen by about 300,000 people. So
most of them were Blades, I think.
It's funny because I think all the comments were from Blades, and it was funny because what you find when you put anything on social media, obviously you put it out initially, and obviously all your followers see it, so it's mainly or people on the Wednesday hashtag or whatever, so they see it first, and it's always there's always a bit of a delay until because I didn't tag any United fans in it or tweet them directly or anything like that. There was no reference to them whatsoever. So there's always a bit of a delay, and then obviously it comes in waves. And yeah, I was just sat chuckling to myself. I thought it was quite funny how to rattle a fan base in the top of the league, man. Like just leave it. Just to be fair, some of them are like, this is the pettiness I can get on board with, and everything else. It was done in good nature. Another comment I just want to. Yeah, another comment I want to just pick up on what Danny said. He said, I felt after 15 minutes some players weren't ready. For me, that's very, very worrying. Well, not that he identified that, but the fact that he identified that at all, in terms of, that he'd seen that so early on. And I think he then went on to say that, he didn't want to make a sub in the first half because that can absolutely kill a footballer. Do you know what I mean? That, in terms of... He's picked a team to go out there. He's picked those players wanting to play. He feels they're the best 11 to go out there and do the job. And then you're dragging someone off after 15, 20 minutes. Like, it's not a great look, is it? Obviously, he made 3 subs at half time, which isn't much better.
No.
But the fact that he saw that people weren't up to the task. He didn't name them, by name or anything like that. But it's, the fact that he saw that, and I'm sure he would have told them, behind, when he's in the dressing room and things like that. But that's a worrying sign that he's already seen that people aren't up to it. And that's when I made the comment about January, because them players could just be, he could just, no matter who they are, he could be like, you're not the player that I want, and I'm going to find a replacement for you.
It's consistency. And we struggle for that. We struggle for, I was going to say consistency on a regular basis, but that's the same thing, isn't it?
You just defined what consistency is there, Subs.
Exactly. Yeah, that's essentially what I've done. But 15, 20 minutes today was the tipping point for me where, as I said, I kind of noted to myself that this is not working. Now, you can't drag anyone after 20 minutes unless you're, one of them kind of sociopath managers from the continent, some Portuguese legend who, the gaffer, as everyone calls him now, infamous stories about him. But no, you can't do that. But you can give them the first half to try and get it to click, try and get it to gel, and it didn't. So, like, you're right, coming off at half time is not a great look. But I don't think anybody could have been disappointed to. or would not have understood if they'd have got pulled at half time, because we were poor. We went 1-0 down. It could have been 2, could have been 3, could have been 4 if it wasn't for Beadle. They were getting shot after shot, chance after chance. So he had to make big changes.
Yeah, let me just read some of the 3-word match reviews out, and then we will kind of touch on the 2 goals that were scored in the game. Wednesday Retro has gone with Smith on pens. Ben said slow, zero urgency. Neil's gone with nothing without Bannon. Paul sought a plan. Ben's gone with Basilisk, point gained. Owen, need more urgency again. Tom, Smith on pens. Quite a few have said that one. Tom has another Tom has gone with I love Smith. Lee, a fortunate point. Alex Young, we missed Bannon. Matt Owl, poor from the start. I'll read a few more out. Started too slow. Shit and wet. So bloody frustrating. Bannon is underrated. Slow and slower. Don't pick Ugbo. And then one more. Lucky to draw. And that's from Lee. If you want to read all the other ones, head over to X, as it is now called, at WTID Pod is where you can get involved and read all everyone else's comments. All 74 currently. So everyone getting involved, and thank you for doing so. Yeah. The goals. Their goal came after 14 minutes. Once again, I picked him out on the ones to watch, and he duly obliged by putting the ball in the back of our net. I mean, to be fair, if you had missed that, I know they did miss a shocker, but that would have been even worse and well up there. Do you know what? I've watched it back. Like I said, it did do exactly what Derby did against us. Got to the byline and pulled the ball back. He actually does go to put it kind of nearer to the penalty spot, but it goes through Bernard's legs, hits his heel, and that kind of takes it in the path of Reece, who, you know, he's 2 yards out in it. But it just showed how easy it is sometimes to score against us. And like I said, it was a carbon copy of the one that we conceded last week.
They've got 17 goals in 18 games before today. They're not a threat yet. You and Matt last week quite rightly said they will score, and lo and behold, they did. I mean, it was one of the best players on the park today. That Frockyar for Preston, he was very good. We were asleep, you know. The throw totally takes out Valerie, totally takes out Shea Charles. Then we're in big trouble. And like you said, he gets to the byline, knocks it across, and Reece just taps it in. I'd like to see the XG on that chance. It's probably 0.99, and the 0.01 would have been Ugbo.
Yeah,
harsh but true.
Yeah, I think can you get an XG of 1.2? Because that would have been it. You know, you just had to hit him, didn't it, and go in. But exactly. It was just frustrating that we started poor, then we were a goal down, and 14 minutes on the clock, and you're just thinking, here we go again. Just behind once again. I mean, we have got now 11 points from losing positions, and it's funny when you look at that metric, because you look at some clubs and you're like, oh, Sunderland haven't got many, but they've hardly been behind this season. When you look at it, so we've had plenty of opportunities to get those points. I'd rather not be behind in the first place, if I'm being perfectly honest. But then we had to wait until the 75th minute. Or 76th minute, if you want to be precise, in the second half to get the goal. And do you know what? I was just tweeting saying Anthony Masabe is the most frustrating footballer on earth when he then put the ball across for Smith, because about less than 5 minutes before that, he tried to take their lad on about 18 times, and when it would have been easy just to square it across to, I think it was Jamal Lowe, and I think it could have been 2 or 3 players that he could have pulled it back to. But it again showed how easy football can be. He did well down the left-hand side, puts the ball across, and that man there, that's, we haven't had many prolific goal scorers. I wouldn't say Smith is prolific, but he's saying to Danny Röhl, start me more often, because he's certainly putting the ball in the back of the net this season.
I'm delighted for him. Just a wholehearted player. He's never, he's never gonna do the things that a modern forward will do. He's your kind of meat and potatoes centre forward. Exactly what we need when it's tough. I mean, he was, again, we said it earlier, he gets ragged around all game, but he just picks himself up, keeps going. But that was Anthony Masaba. Anthony Masaba's Sheffield Wednesday career in microcosm in 120 seconds. Yeah. Just like you said, tries to beat the same bloke 3 times, completely messes it up. Everyone's on his back. Then, looks up, picks out Smith with the perfect little ball, gets himself an assist. Smith just calmly passes it into the net. Preston must have thought, how the hell are we level once we scored?
Because I mean, I saw the goalkeeper looking at his gloves after when it went in, because I think he's got half a tub of Lurpak on him or something, because the way that it went past him, he will be disappointed, because I think Smith was just kind of like, just get it on target, Do you know what I mean? That's all he was thinking, because he didn't lash at it or anything like that. It was a pretty tame effort, if I want to be honest.
Yeah,
but,
he just got a good contact on it. He didn't try and bust the net. I mean, Smith doesn't. I mean, apart from that once in a lifetime rocket at Peterborough, he doesn't do that. He got a good contact on it. But yeah, I mean, keepers had a shocker there. I think we should give a shout out to Ingleson, because that was a terrific ball through to Masaba to set him free. We are such a good attacking threat when we play those balls for our players to run onto. So for Gassama, Masaba and Valentin running onto those balls, and Baz is the, he's the governor at doing that. And they're running onto it. These defenses, they're in all kinds of problems once one of our attackers is running at pace onto one of those balls. This time Masaba got it right. He looked up and picked out the pass, but it was a great pass from Ingleson.
Well, that's Masaba's 4th assist of the season. Obviously, the same duo combined against Hull.
Come off the bench today. So we've said that.
Yeah, like I said, it was the same duo, but if you're listening to the Sky commentary, it wasn't, of course, because Mustafa was playing against Hull. Let's not forget. But yeah, four assists now. Only just the 1 goal to his name, but yeah, if you're a stats person and you look at just the numbers, you'll think, well, he finished leading goal scorer last season. He's got 3 assists already this season and a goal to his name. He's doing all right, that Masaba lad. Yeah, but if you do the eye test, like I said, so frustrating. Words cannot describe kind of how annoyed I get at Masaba, and I'm not going to say those 3 words that I always say every single week. I'll refrain from saying them about both.
We know what you're going to say. Yeah,
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it. I've said it far too many times. And I want him to prove me wrong, but they don't. Every week they don't. Right, let's before we talk about the next games that are coming up, we've got Blackburn on Tuesday. Then we travel to Oxford, the 3-sided stadium, which that annoys me again. But anyway, that's for another point. Shalabar. You said you kind of wanted him to start. It's probably down to fitness why he didn't. When he comes on, he looks decent, doesn't he? Right foot, left foot. It looks calm. All right, we'll let the pass back to Beadle slide under the last seconds of the game. We'll just not talk about that if we can. But we were impressed with him against Derby when he came off the bench, and again he does look just like he's playing in slow motion. In terms of everyone else is in slow motion, he just has that much time on the ball.
He looks composed, doesn't he? We've only seen cameos from him, but he's time's on his side. I mean, how many former England internationals have we had in our side? I think he got a cap, didn't he, a few years back? He's played for England. Now, if he can stay fit, I don't know exactly how we're going to use. I thought today we were going to use him in a slightly different way. I thought there was a chance he could start, either him or Ingleson, but let's say for argument's sake, Chalobah would have started. And I thought he may have had the remit to move forward a bit more rather than, just have defensive responsibilities, because we can leave that to Shea Charles. Or on the other hand, we could have asked Chalobah to hold and allow Shea Charles to do a little bit more moving forward, because we've seen him the last few weeks when he's bursting forward. Shea Charles, he looks fantastic, running into space with the ball. He's going to find a blue and white shirt, and he's going to make the right decision. Chalobah gives me a good feeling that if he stays fit, he could be an important player for us after Christmas.
Yeah. I think you're right on that. You are right as well. He did have one. He has got one England cap back in 2018 when he was at Watford, I do believe. So he's got quite a few at youth level as well. So didn't we have another player that said he might be able to get into the England side? That was a certain Izzy Jones. Is it Izzy Jones?
Izzy Brown.
Izzy Brown. Who's Izzy Jones?
I don't know. Someone you went to school with, is it?
Look, I picked. There's quite a lot of common surnames, isn't there? There's Brown, there's Jones, there's Smith. I plumped for one. I said it. I knew I'd got it wrong, but I backed myself. And
you went for it anyway, live on air.
You've got to back yourself in these situations. But no, Izzy Brown. Look, I've forgotten about him, and you can't you can't disagree with for doing that, can you? Really,
no.
It's got to be applauded because quite a lot of people would want to forget him from the life as well. But yeah, he has got a cap to his name. Right, before I said we were going to talk about Blackburn and Oxford. Pause it for a second. If you want to listen to Extra Time, head over to patreon.com/WTID pod. If you want to listen to Matt's dulcet tones, then that's where you can do that, because me and Matt have already recorded Extra Time talking about Pierce Charles and the whole, amidst the rumours that he's attracting Premier League interest and things like that, and how much is he worth and everything else. So head over to Patreon and do listen to that one. That will be out on Monday morning. I want to take your brief take on it, Subs. What he is attracting interest, as we said. Apparently Liverpool are one that has apparently looked at him. He's yet to make a league appearance for Sheffield Wednesday, but he has played in the Cup, and he has played for Northern Ireland as well, which, strange that he's played for his country before even making a league appearance, but hey-ho, that's where we are. What's your take on it all?
Well, I haven't heard Extra Time yet because I'm very much the Matt Johnson tribute act this week. So I'll wait to hear what you and Matt have to say on the expanded pod about Pierce Charles. But I'm really high on him. I think he's. I think when you're looking at the kind of new age keepers, if that's what we want to call them, who are comfortable with the ball at their feet. Some of those passes we've seen him. I mean, he played one for us against Grimsby, which resulted in a goal, which was a phenomenal ball down the right hand side. He kind of arced his pass, and it went straight into, as I mentioned before, one of our runners. He played a couple of magnificent passes for Northern Ireland recently. If you haven't seen them, just go to the Northern Ireland Twitter page and have a look at those passes he put in. He's a good shot stopper as well. We've seen him in the glimpses when he's played for us in the cups. I don't think there are many players of that age with such a high ceiling around who can do the things he can do. And when you are talking about teams like Liverpool being potentially interested, I heard a couple of days ago was one of the teams rumoured to be looking at him or taking a keen interest in him. Then you're talking big money. I honestly think you're talking big money, and the reason you are is because let's pick a number out of the sky, 10 million quid. That's a fortune to Sheffield Wednesday Football Club at the minute, because we don't operate in those kind of realms. We just don't. But for a Liverpool or a Spurs or an Arsenal, that's peanuts. It's peanuts. And what we said before about these teams stockpiling players, they can afford to spend 10 million on a player in the hope that he cashes out in 2 or 3 years to become a 25, 30 million pound player. And they can keep him on the bench, and they can potentially loan him out, potentially loan him back to us. But I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that we get a big offer for him. Maybe we still considered sending him on loan in January, depending on the Hamer situation. But really, you're probably talking him being our number 2 now, with a view to him being our number 1 next August.
Yeah, I think. We obviously we talked, me and Matt, about kind of how much we think he's worth and stuff like that. I'll not spoil anything. You'll have to go over and hear what we had to say. But I think that it's probably going to be with a lot of add-ons, I would have thought.
Yeah.
I don't think the money's going to be there up front. And I think as well, we have to, as fans, and certainly myself anyway, I've been talking a lot about, we need to trade players better. We haven't done that in the past. And look, you're not going to get any money for the likes of Liam Palmer or a Shalabar or Barry Bannon, as good as he is. You have to sell your better players that are actually worth something. And unfortunately, like, he's one of those. And yeah, that's why, sometimes you have to kind of just bite your tongue a little bit and accept it, and if that's going to better the club, then so be it. But yeah, look, it's got to be a positive that we're actually having Premier League teams sniffed around our players, because it hasn't happened for a long time. But yeah, it's certainly interesting, and I think Matt messaged me and made quite a good point. If Liverpool are looking, obviously they've got Alisson at the moment. I know he's injured, but then they've got Kelleher, who I think's mid 20, 26, 27 years old. He's still got a fair few years in him. If you add a Shea Charles to the mix there, once Alisson hangs his gloves up, Kelleher picks them up. Then you add Shea Charles into the mix a little bit later on. They've kind of got their goalkeeping situation sorted for the next, 10, 15 years or something like that. They don't even have to think about who's playing in goal. It's just kind of a continuous transition down. But yeah, like I said, head over to Patreon if you want to hear I think we spoke for half an hour, 40 minutes or so on that whole situation. Blackburn next, no rest for the wicked. Another game coming thick and fast. Tuesday back at Hillsborough. Hopefully the atmosphere is a little better, but I'm not holding my breath. They've got John Eustace at the helm. 4 wins on the bounce now. Cardiff, Middlesbrough, Leeds and Hull. Hull being most recently 1-0 win. I didn't have a look who scored today, but before today they had Ohashi and Vyman with 4 goals to the name. Currently 6th, just crept into the bottom 6. I'm not top 6. Sorry, I'm not going to lie. I didn't have them there at all. I thought they were going to be struggling. Obviously they've got no. I forget his name now. The lad who scored 1,001 goals for him last season.
Smodics,
that's the one. Cheers for digging me out there. They've not got him. I thought they were going to really struggle, but they've picked up a bit of form, and they've hit a bit of a purple patch. How do you see Tuesday panning out, Sups?
I think they're in a false position. I haven't followed them closely, but from what I've seen when they've been live, nothing to fear there. We're going to have to see a reaction on Tuesday. We've drawn too many games at home. I mean, Al's man said there, we're 9th, we're not playing that well. If we get our home form right too, what can we do? And I agree with that. We have 3 wins in 10 home games so far this season. That's a pretty poor return for a team in the top half. We've got to approach Tuesday with a completely different mindset, and I think that's what he will be drumming into them. I mean, I know we've talked about putting a run together, and also in the past there's been some really, I think, sensible discussion about what it's like to be a mid-table team, what it's like to win one, lose one, draw one, and playing Derby last week, coming from behind, getting a fantastic away win, then putting in a pretty poor performance at home. I suppose Postecoglou might say, "It's who we are, mate."
Yeah,
that's it. A mid-table championship team are going to win, draw, lose, but we need to see a bit more bite on Tuesday. We've got to come out and we've got to be on it from the first whistle, because what we saw in the first half today, we heard what Danny Röhl said. He echoed exactly what we were all thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to say about that, about the wins at home. There's only 5 teams that have won less games at home than us this season. We've won 3, so it's 4 teams actually. West Brom, Hull, Portsmouth and QPR have won less than that this season. And when you look at points per game, we're sat 7th bottom at home. Yeah, in terms of our home form so far. Yeah, Stoke, Coventry, Portsmouth, Hull and QPR are the ones that have picked up less points at home this season, and it is a weird one, because generally speaking, our home form, I go back to the League One days in the season that went up. The unbeaten record at home was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we've won 3, drawn 3, lost 3, so it's literally as you said, that mid-table form. Even the same away from them, 4 wins, 1 draw, and 4 defeats away. So we are, like I said, very, very much that mid-table side. But yeah, I just want to see a reaction on Tuesday. Let's just get that first 10, 15 minutes sorted. Like you said, let's come out of the traps quick. Barry Bannon's going to be back. Obviously, Bernard, he was back today. As far as I'm concerned, no fresh injury concerns or anything like that. I think it is going to be interesting to see whether he sticks with Ugbo again, because there is a point where where we have to start, where Danny has to not play him. I know he didn't play against Hull, whether that were injury or not, but he's sticking by him. He's still not scoring, but I feel like his patience might be running a little bit thin, especially when you've got Michael Smith banging the goals in. And it wouldn't surprise me. I know we're not there yet, but there's been talk of Kadam Archery coming back. He hasn't been getting the game time. He might just think, you know what, come back here and I'll play you because I need someone else up there. But yeah, Ugbo is whilst I want him to score, he's not doing it, and it wouldn't surprise me if someone else took his place on Tuesday.
It wouldn't surprise any of us, I don't think. Can't remember him being involved too much. I know he only had the first half, and it was a bad one for us as a whole. But it's going to be frustrating for him. We've covered the fact that an attacking aggressive lineup we need to be able to get the ball to them. I mean, we didn't have any service, any cutting edge. Certainly a thankless task for Ugbo in the first half. But his lack of production's becoming an issue, and taking him out of the firing line in favour of other options. Even Jamal Lowe is very likely, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I'm just looking actually. Blackburn had just one shot on target against Hull, and actually, actual fact, the goal came from an own goal as well. So I don't know. I've not seen it. I don't know exactly what happened. They had 5 shots to Hull's 14. So yeah, they've won. It's fourth game on the spin that they have won. 3rd game away from home that they've won consecutive as well. But yeah, I think we've got to go into it thinking that it's a game that we can win. I mean, if we do come away with a win, we're then looking and going with 5 games unbeaten. We'll probably be, if you look at it, probably one of the form sides in the league. Which it's mad to think that, innit, when we're talking, and I feel like we've been particularly negative on this pod today.
Yeah.
And we could be 5 games unbeaten, and one step closer. We could be within striking distance of the top 6. Mad.
Yeah, it's all perspective. It's all very knee jerk. These podcasts are more often than not immediate reactions or 24 hours after the event, and we're very much talking about a situation whereby we can see opportunities to improve. We can see opportunities that we're not taking, and the frustration comes out. But if we do get it right, when we do get it right, and we can string 2 or 3 results together because of the nature of this league and the fact that it can concertina up that league table between position 6 and even down to kind of 14, the margins are very fine. 2 or 3 wins, 9 points, and you're banging amongst it. And if you are in amongst it at Christmas, then I remember the days of you will as well, when we in the kind of 2010s where our season was going nowhere every Christmas. We were kind of 13th, 14th, 16th. We probably weren't going to go down. Definitely weren't going to get in the playoffs until we had changes and Carlos arrived. But when your season's over at Christmas, you got nothing to play for at each end of the table. It's it's a bit ho hum, but you never know. If we do get it right, we start by putting in that reaction you mentioned on Tuesday night, 3 points, and let's push on to have a good Christmas, a good December.
Yeah, go on then, Sups. Give me a score prediction for Tuesday.
They will score. I'm going to say it again, but we will not be as bad as that. They are doing well. They're a well coached side, because there's another comment from Alsman there, actually echoing that about John Eustace. I think he was poorly dealt with at Birmingham, and some of that coaching probably is coming out with the work he's doing at Blackburn. But at home, create some chances. Let's get it together right from the first whistle. We'll win 3-1.
I'll certainly take that. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to go goal either side of half time. I'll go a 2-0 win. Good reaction from the lads. Like I said, it can't be as bad as this. All the writing will be on the wall for said players. Certainly, if that happens, it's going to be interesting to see which side he picks. I think Shalabar could be asking for a start, but then again, Bannon is back and he'll be rested. Obviously, not playing on Saturday, so it's probably going to be Bannon and Charles alongside him, unless he wants to give Charles a little bit of a rest. You never know. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. Quickly then, Oxford on Saturday. They're on a run of 13 games without a win. Their game against Plymouth was postponed because of a bit of wind, should I say? They take on QPR on Wednesday before they play us. It's another trip to the Kassam. Remember the last time we played them at the Kassam? That 1-1 draw. Bannon
was that
scored.
Rebecca Welsh?
It was that one, yeah.
To
make it 1-0, and then Rebecca Welch gave a penalty for a player trying to do a leapfrog over over Akin for me. Well, absolute joke that was. But anyway, John, I was thinking, who's their manager? I thought it can't be. It's not Liam Manning because he's at Bristol, but it's a guy called Des Buckingham. I would never have got that in a million years. I don't even know who the kid is. Didn't even know he was a manager. But yeah, apparently Des Buckingham is the Oxford manager. That's totally slipped my mind. He was there last season, got him promoted. But anyway, Will Volks
doing a decent job.
Will Volks should be playing. I believe he's been playing, quite regularly. Obviously, not doing too well at the moment, but obviously it is at the Kassam. It's not at Hillsborough, so I was going to say he'll get a decent reception. I'm sure he'll get a decent reception from the travelling fans in that away side, because obviously they don't have an away end, do they, at the Kassam? That three.
Yeah, the wind's so bad it's blown down one of the stands. So no wonder the game was called off.
Well, but yeah, exactly. Go on then. Quickly. I mean, there, and it's another side that's bang out of form. Seemingly every team we've played recently have been in poor form at the moment, but we've got to go there and expect to pick up another 3 points on the road, haven't we? Really.
We have. We seem to be playing a lot more freely away from home. Oxford started off quite well for a team who came up, but seem to have kind of reverted now. I'm going for a Rebecca Welsh tribute, 1-0 penalty.
Yeah, I would take that. I mean, I'm just looking actually. They're one of very few sides to actually conceded either the same or more goals than us. They've actually conceded the same amount, 28, but they have played a game less. Incidentally, Cardiff have also conceded 28, Portsmouth 30, Plymouth Argyle 38 goals conceded in just 18 games, which is absolutely mental.
They've taken some wallopings.
They have taken some absolute hammerings. So maybe we were right at the start of the season. Maybe it is just that Plymouth are shit as to why we beat them 4-0. Again, I can't come and say we're not going to win. I'm going to stick with my 2-0 again. And a 2-0 on Tuesday and a 2-0 on Saturday. I feel like we might be a little bit more positive next week.
What's the minimum points we need to take from these next two games, in your opinion?
Well, I think we've got to win on Tuesday, and if you win at home and you draw away, cliche, but I think that would do me absolutely fine. I always say as well, a win can buy you a poor result. I think, if we take 3 points from the next two games, but I feel like it has to be a win on Tuesday. And I think if it's a defeat on Tuesday, we probably then don't go on to have a good result on Saturday. But if we can beat Blackburn, I mean, look, against Oxford, you're not really looking to. It'd be really disappointing if we lose. But you look at it and we'll be saying the same thing next week, that it's mid-table championship form that we're currently in. So
I tend to agree. And Danny Röhl's not the kind of manager who's going to go away from home looking for a point. That's that's the opposite of Ange Postecoglou. That's not who we are, mate.
We should have more than enough to beat an Oxford side, to be fair, that, like I said, haven't won in 13 games. Of course, they'll be playing QPR on Wednesday before they take us on. I think QPR are the only side that haven't won at home, and I don't know whether this game on coming up against QPR is at home or is it away from? I'm going to have a quick look actually before we wrap things up. People are probably already shouting at the TV screen or wherever saying that. It is actually QPR are at home, so they haven't won at home all season. We'll have to wait and see what happens in that one. But no, let's wrap things up. Sups, massive thanks for stepping in and joining me this weekend.
Anytime,
really appreciate it. It's been great chatting to you today. It's a shame that we just weren't talking about a win this evening. But yeah, Sups, massive thanks. like I mentioned before, if anyone wants to listen to me and Matt talking about Pierce Charles, head over to Patreon. Patreon.com/WTID pod is where you need to go. You get access to the Discord group, which is always pretty lively throughout the week. Extra time, debate show, and the preview show. I'll be speaking to a Blackburn fan as well between now and Tuesday, getting their thoughts on Tuesday's game as well. So make sure you check that out. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers.